Last week I was asking about how you think about goals for climate action, and I loved the responses I got from everybody. I got a ton of feedback, and overall I didn't get a ton of responses. So I want to ask a little bit different question, sort of a bit higher level. It's related, but it's especially for those of you who haven't heard back from yet. Before I tell you the question, I don't expect some super polished answer, even just like a rough sketch of how you think about the pieces that go into answering this would be really valuable. So with that, here's the question. What's your comprehensive plan for a stable climate? Now, maybe you have a response right away. You were just talking about this over dinner. Maybe you've got a cool doc. I'd love to hear all about it, so hit reply. Or it might be helpful for me to unpack the question a bit. And again, not expecting a super polished answer, just getting a sense of how you think about these pieces coming together would be valuable. So here's how to think about it. First off, what does stable climate actually mean to you? You might be thinking about temperature targets, 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees. Maybe you're thinking about parts per million of carbon dioxide. Maybe you're just thinking about like the planet, the climate that I grew up with. Or maybe you're thinking about a sustainable and just world. All of those things are kind of how you think about defining a stable climate. So jot that part down, and this part's important because everything downstream of that depends on it. And the big question is, what's your comprehensive plan for a stable climate? So let's also talk about how you think about the plan to get from that stable climate that you just defined, back to maybe a point along the way, another point along the way, and how you think about that. So do you think about any dates that come to mind? We're going to hit this by this year, then we're going to need to hit that to be there along the way, and then that. Maybe you have dates for emissions levels, dates for temperatures. Maybe you've got, we need to hit net zero by this date, and therefore we need to do this and this along the way. Things like that. Now look, this is a big question, so again, however it is in your head, it would be great to hear about it. Not looking for something polished. Just a rough sketch. And in service of that, I want to give you an example from a friend of mine. My point in sharing this is to give you an example. Here's what something looks like that has a bunch of pieces that all fit together and how it sounds. I don't want your responses to this plan. The point is just giving you a sense of here's a thing that kind of has most of the major pieces that you're thinking about. So here it is. The IPCC says to stay well below 2 degrees of centigrade, we need something like a 90% reduction of emissions by 2050. And that piece is technologically feasible and economically realistic. Plus, we need 10 gigatons per year of carbon dioxide removal to offset past emissions and future hard to abate emissions. And that part is hard. So to get there, we need to do all the profitable, cost-effective things we can do to reduce emissions now. Plus, we need to massively ramp up any forms of carbon removal that are already profitable. Plus, we need to remove any greenhouse gases that are extra harmful. Things like methane, super pollutants, we need to just stop all that. And we need to be investing in R&D for all the things that aren't there yet, both in reducing emissions and removing carbon dioxide for future scale-up. Finally, as a backup, we need an insurance policy, so we need to figure out the most benign, reversible way to cool the planet just in case. So that's an example of a comprehensive plan for reversing climate change. Do I agree with every single piece of it? Do I think it all fits together? That's not what the example's for. The example's for, look, here's kind of the big pieces that come together. You can add up and say, hey, okay, that sounds like there's a vision there, there's a goal there. So I want to hear what your comprehensive plan for a stable climate is, how you think about it. Maybe you got some of the big high-level pieces, maybe you got some more detailed things. Whatever it is, hit reply, and I look forward to hearing back from you.